Hello, and welcome to the Schizoaffective Diaries. My name is Daisy, and I have schizoaffective disorder. Schizoaffective disorder is a serious mental health condition that has symptoms of both schizophrenia and a mood disorder, such as major depressive disorder, or in my case, bipolar disorder. I had a friend ask me recently about the psychosis that I experience, and specifically, she asked if I ever have any warning signs that I'm heading into a psychotic episode. I thought this was a really great question. And the answer for me is yes. A few years ago, I had a therapist help me make a list of signs and symptoms that can let me know I'm maybe about to experience psychosis to a serious degree. And when I experience some of the things on this list, especially if I'm experiencing multiple things on this list at the same time, or the things I'm experiencing are getting worse, that's when I know, hey, it's time to tell someone. So yeah, it's really been helpful to have this list. It's not a perfect system. I don't always know that that's what's happening. Sometimes things can come on very quickly, but it's been really, really nice to have this list to refer to. So I'm going to talk about 13 ways or 13 signs that let me know that I'm heading into a psychotic episode. This phase of psychosis is called the prodromal phase. I will talk about this, like the stages of psychosis, in another video. I will also talk more specifically about like types of psychosis, hallucinations, delusions, those kinds of things in another video. This is mainly to answer that question and to just kind of give an overview of specifically what I experience in the prodromal phase. So, yes, the prodromal phase is the first. I kind of feel like, or think of it as, the on ramp of a psychotic episode. It's when things are kind of, for me, it comes as like a realization. There's things are slowly like dawning on me, that things that aren't true, but it's kind of this on ramp to something that becomes more serious and more distressing. The first thing I have on my list is super scientific and helpful. No, but it is, I just have written down, everything feels off. It's really hard to define this one specifically, but like I said, for me, it often comes as like a gradual realization or a gradual belief that everything is not as I thought it was. Everything is, in reality, is a little bit different. So when I start to feel like this eerie, maybe I misunderstood everything about reality and something is changing or things are becoming more sinister, just that like off feeling, that's often a sign for me that psychosis is coming on. The second sign I have is sensory overload. I can get really overwhelmed with lots of different sounds happening at one time, lots of colors or lights. That's something I don't normally struggle with in my day to day life, but when I'm in that prodromal phase of psychosis, I do often experience that feeling of everything is too much, my senses are overloaded, and I'm really overwhelmed. Number three is overwhelming scrutiny of self, which is what I kind of call this feeling of over analyzing everything I'm doing and becoming hyper aware of ways that I am specifically being embarrassing. That's a really big trigger for me, is the feeling of embarrassment. So super fun. But if I'm feeling really embarrassed in a social situation and I'm becoming really critical of myself all of a sudden, and I feel like I'm just embarrassing and no one wants to be around me, that's often a sign that I'm heading into psychosis. Number four, colors get very bright and bold and kind of weird. This one is not as distressing as the other symptoms, I would say, but it definitely is very noticeable. Colors become, it goes back to like everything is just kind of off, but colors become a lot more vibrant in a way that is like almost like someone is turning up the vibrancy in the world around me. Five, my physical sense of where I am in space kind of gets um, and back to weird. It just gets a little bit weird. So if I'm walking, all of a sudden I might feel kind of like my legs aren't mine, or I'm a little bit out of control of my body. It just feels like that scrutiny of self, but in a physical way. I'm thinking too much about how I'm walking. I'm thinking a little too much about what my arms are doing. And like I said, when I'm experiencing multiple of these things, that's often a pretty good indication. So that one goes along with some of the other ones, and also goes along with that embarrassment. I feel like I'm not walking normally or correctly. I'm becoming very critical of myself and might feel embarrassed about it. Number 7, I kind of start saying some weird things. And this one, I don't notice that I'm doing it. It's more that I notice other people are reacting to it. I might lose kind of, I might lose a sense of where we are in a conversation. I might start saying some things that don't go along with the topic, or just really just kind of some strange things to say. It also is a little difficult because I'll have that scrutiny of self, and I'm someone that struggles with wanting to say the right thing, and we're people, we're humans, we don't always say the right thing. But when I really start saying weird things and people are reacting to those weird things as though they're weird, that's another sign something might be coming on. Number 8, I can get withdrawn as a result of all those other symptoms. So, in the middle of a conversation, I might kind of fade into the background as I'm becoming hyper aware of colors and hyper aware of my physical self, and scrutinize every word I'm saying, and I'll feel really uncomfortable. And that results in me kind of withdrawing from the social situation. Number 9 is dissociation. I will make a different, more in length video about what dissociation is and how it affects me specifically. But I will say it's kind of like an out of body experience where all of a sudden I might be looking down at myself instead of like feeling like I'm in my own body. But that dissociation, that feeling separate from what's happening around me, is distressing, and it's often a sign of something coming on, usually psychosis. 10 is a dampened mood. This one comes on actually pretty quickly because of all the other symptoms, or um, because of that feeling of embarrassment. All of a sudden, my mood just kind of plummets. One of the ways I think about it is if the temperature outside suddenly drops. You notice it pretty quickly, and it's not fun. None of these symptoms are fun. This one's not a good time. But it is helpful to know that if that happens, I can refer to my checklist and say, okay, it's time to take some action. 11, I will experience some irritability. The irritability is very uncomfortable. And it feels, I've described it to my therapist in the past as I feel like really hot. That feeling of like kind of itchy irritation, irritability, and maybe a little bit of anger just makes me feel uncomfortable, and like things that normally don't bother me all of a sudden will bother me a lot. 12 is what I call paranoia light, or I guess another word for that would be suspicion. So it's not full paranoia, and that I believe that someone is after me, or I'm really overwhelmingly scared. It's more that I start getting suspicious, like maybe this is happening, or it's better safe than sorry that I take precautions. And this one, once I get to this one, it's good that I let someone know if I can. But once this paranoia starts kind of creeping up on me, it often for me manifests in that I don't trust other people. And so that can make it really difficult to reach out for help. So that's kind of one of the later stages for me. Um, I've also got on here 13 is thought blocking, which is a new phrase to me. I've experienced thought blocking a lot in my life, but I didn't know there was a name for it until recently. And thought blocking, I copy the definition from Google, is the sudden, unexplained stopping of speech or thought mid sentence and feeling like your mind went blank. It is more than a momentary, your mind goes blank. Oh, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. It's a lot more, for me, And with psychosis, like all of a sudden the thought stops. The thought train has left the station. It's not coming back anytime soon. At this point, I often lose my ability to speak, or speech becomes really, really difficult. So, yeah, those are 13 things that I experience before heading into a psychotic episode. My psychotic episodes these days, if I have one, which is a lot more rare, thank goodness, on the medications I'm on, will last a few hours, and it takes me around a week or two to recover from a single psychotic episode. So if I can be aware that I'm heading into one, I can make sure I'm safe. I can make sure that the people around me are aware of it. Maybe they can reach out to my providers. Maybe I can go lie down. There's medications I can take for anxiety that kind of relax me. And it's all just really helpful. It's more information that I have to keep myself safe. The thing I want to end with is a weird one. I guess this could be 14, but it's almost, yeah, I'll say it's actually kind of funny in hindsight when this happens. One of the first signs of a true psychotic episode for me is that the font on my iPhone will change. It's not changing in real life, it's just changing in my perceived reality. So I'll be looking at my phone, especially iMessage if I'm like texting someone, and the font on my phone will change. It'll become a lot more like there's more space between letters, which is called kerning, I've learned. And the letters get a lot more narrow, and sometimes they get taller. So it's kind of upsetting while it's happening, but I know for me that that's what that means. It means I'm kind of breaking from reality. However, here's the part that's a little bit funny. Over the past few years, when this is happening, and I'm aware now what that means, part of me is like, well, maybe not. Maybe maybe Apple just changed the font. So I have in the past few years Googled some iteration of, has the iPhone font changed? Hundreds of times. This is me being hopeful. Well, maybe it's not this time. So I actually went through my Google history. I searched iPhone font, and I found the most recent time that this happened to me. And I am going to read a couple examples of the things I Googled. I'm not trying to make light of psychosis. That is for sure. Psychosis is distressing. It can be terrifying, and it's not a good time for people who experience it or people around them who watch their loved one experience it. However, I do sometimes like to laugh at my own brain, and considering all the distress it's put me through, that feels fair. So here are some things I Googled. This was in January of 2025 when I was going through the prodromal phase of psychosis and I was not able to speak. Here are some things I Googled. I searched for font, phone, kerning on phone too much. iPhone font, kerning on phone. Phone font wrong on my iPhone. iPhone font is different. iPhone font is different than before. Why is iPhone font not right? iPhone font too small and different. Phone font kerning on iPhone too much. Phone font kerning on iPhone. I searched for that one like 6 times in a row. I was hoping to get different answers. I also have, why is no one talking about the iPhone font changing? Why is the iMessage font worse all of a sudden? And my favorite, am I crazy or is the iPhone font really hard to read right now? So I will end with kind of a funny story that has to do with that. About maybe a year or two ago, my cousin handed me her iPhone and asked me to put in directions to a place that we were going. And when I looked at her phone and I saw the keyboard and I saw the words on the maps, the app that she was using for maps, I just kind of panicked. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know any of these words and I don't know some of these letters. I must be heading into like the worst psychotic episode of my life. Have I forgotten English? Then she told me, she goes, oh yeah, by the way, I changed the language on my iPhone to French because I'm learning French. So, crisis averted. in hindsight, that was pretty funny. Well, yeah. So if you've ever been curious, those are some things that I'm not sure if other people experience anything similar to the iPhone font thing. If you do, please let me know. I've never met anyone who has that specific symptom or really anything quite like that. But I'm very interested to know if anyone out there does. So let me know in the comments, and thanks so much for watching.